Welcome to the 70213 podcast, home of the Los Angeles Lakers on Franchise Sports Media. The number one seed in the playoff, Franchise Sports Media's Lakers. That's right, the Los Angeles Lakers clinched the first seed, number one seed in the West in conference yesterday, or excuse me, on Monday. Yeah, forgot what day it was. My bad. I'm Joe Arrigo. Along with me is our franchise writers, Kyle Randolph, Mike Dancy, and let me make the formal introduction. New title for Isaiah Torres, according to TQ and myself, co-founders of the franchise. Isaiah has officially been named the lead Lakers writer for Franchise Sports Media. Isaiah, this is your guys right here, brother. You're the LeBron James to your squad, so congratulations.
Sweet. Yeah, that's thank you. I appreciate it. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, it's my favorite team of all teams, the Lakers of all pro sports, and I'm excited to, write about them, talk about them, and do it with this great group of guys. So thank you. I appreciate it.
You earned it, brother. So Isaiah will be covering the Lakers for us for quite some time. So hopefully. So with that being said, we want to get right into the subjects, and I kind of alluded to it at the beginning, guys. Isaiah, I want to start with you. Now that the Lakers have clinched the first seed in the playoffs, what have they done well, and what are some concerns going into the playoffs and what you've seen since the Lakers have entered the bubble?
Well, I think we should start with Anthony Davis. He's playing great. I remember a week ago we talked about how we were a little worried because he had got poked in the eye and we weren't sure what his health status was going to be, but he proved right away that he's ready to play. And I mean, 42 points against Utah, against Rudy Gobert, really great performance. So we loved what we see from him so far, and we hope he could keep that up. LeBron James, he is, he said from the jump that the offense was going to run through AD, and I think he's definitely showing that a lot more in these bubble games, because AD is usually the guy who's leading scoring from in each game, and Bron kind of picks up the slack on all the other areas like rebounding and assists. But when it comes time to turn it up, he does. He started the fourth quarter in the Utah game with 8 consecutive points. Three-pointer, jump shot. So he can turn it up when the time comes. My pet peeve with Bron, and I say this to everybody, is I wish sometimes he wouldn't do that shot where he kind of just holds it and takes a dribble and takes a step back three, because it just most of the time he bricks it. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? That's not your game, man. You're big, you're a force. Drive to the hoop. Do something with it.
That's what I've been saying. He needs to either keep being Bron, like his leading assist Bron, and keep passing it out good, or drive to the hoop every time. He's too big. He's going to draw a foul, get an and one, or just murder somebody if he drives every single time. But he doesn't a lot.
Well, Kyle, I want to actually give you kudos, bro, because on your game preview for the Jazz, you literally said AD is going to have a monster game and be a bully against the Jazz. And I was actually talked about it on WWJD on Tuesday's show, the show that Nashawn and I do on Franchise Sports Media, and gave you credit because I was like, I read it, I quoted you. It was like, he said this is hours before the game began. It's not like it was a recap. And Anthony Davis was a monster last night, Isaiah. You're absolutely right. Kyle, what has been your big takeaway so far for the Lakers? Like, what have they done well? What is their most significant concern heading into the playoffs so far?
So they've done really good. Big takeaways, AD, LeBron, chemistry has not been affected over the whole long break. They are playoff ready. Nobody really, like I said in the recap, nobody has severely struggled. JaVale had zeros across the board, but he is playing paint defense, and it's not like he did anything bad. So there's not much negativity. I mean, the only thing that worries me is Dion Waiters is somehow going off, and it seems a little too good to be true kind of thing. I mean, I hope he's doing good, obviously, but you know what I mean?
They got the good edibles in Orlando.
Because he wasn't doing anything this year. Then now he's actually doing good. I'm like,
well, he wasn't doing anything because Miami wasn't playing him because he was always suspended.
True.
I mean, I mean, come on. I'm gonna give Dion credit for that, though. What about you, Mike? What you got?
Well, they're doing good. They're doing really good. I like what I see from them. Like they're coming together. Like you're starting to see things come together. Things are set in motion, and it's working. So it's not really a concern. It's more of just like a question. I want to know how deep they're going to go into the rotation when it comes to the playoffs. Like who is going to be playing as far as like, because a lot of teams, they shrink the rotation down to like 7 or 8 players. And I think rotation really matters, especially if you're able to play more people. You can give your best players their rest, or do you play them all the way out and play them to they're tired as hell?
Kyle, what would you do? What would you do, Kyle?
For the lineup and stuff?
For the rotation.
As of now, I know they want to play, but I'd limit AD and Bron's minutes up until playoffs. I think they're good. Maybe the last 1 or 2 games of the season, give them like a full game to gel together. But at this point, since they clinched, they're good. No home court to worry about in the finals. It's just, I don't think it's worth to play them for 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Like as far as yeah, like Kyle said, I agree with him. Right now, they already clinched. That's what they're really playing for, clinching the first seed. They got that. It's not like home court advantage matters anymore because everybody's in Orlando. Everybody's at Disney World. So I think they can just rest everybody. They still should practice or whatever. But just like if they do play, maybe play 10, 15 minutes like they did the first game in the scrimmages. Just play just a little bit just so they can like keep playing and not get rusty. And go ahead and get ready for the playoffs. But I will say this though, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think they're still gonna play.
I agree. I see Isaiah nodding his head when you guys are talking about limiting their minutes, but I tend to go the opposite route before I go to Isaiah. I feel like LeBron and AD and the rest of the guys, they've been off for so long, their bodies got enough rest. And I feel like that was the time for them to rest their bodies, let the little nagging injuries and the nicks and bruises heal. And LeBron, they're playing for a bigger purpose. And that's something that I've been thinking about, for quite some time. I've been talking to anybody about it when we talk Lakers. The Lakers have had an incredibly like I don't think Rob Pelinka gets enough credit. Okay. Now, Magic, God bless him, and he's an iconic Laker, iconic figure in NBA history. Magic quits in the parking garage, doesn't even tell Jeannie Buss after having dinner with her the day before, right? Rob Pelinka gets elevated and is running the show, and there's behind-the-scenes people telling you that Magic and Rob were beefing, and Magic had beef with Rob, and Rob was this, and Rob was that. And then people will say, well, LeBron put this team together. LeBron and Rich Paul, put this team together. It's like, whoa, hold on. Rob Pelinka still had to make the decisions. Rob Pelinka still had to pull the trigger, no matter what LeBron James wanted, no matter what Rich or Clutch wanted. He had to make the decisions. To me, he's executive of the year for taking a team that missed the playoffs the last 7 years, and now leads into being the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Isaiah, you and I have been Laker fans the longest. I'm a little older than you guys, so I'm a little bit longer. So over the last 7 years, what has been the most significant memory or the most memorable memory for the Lakers missing the playoffs during that time?
I'm gonna give you my second. The reason why I say that is because my first memory from the past 6 seasons obviously has to be the 60-point finale, correct?
Yeah. That was amazing.
So I will give you my second answer then. Honestly, it's seeing the rosters that we would have. A lot of guys, I saw a picture today that said, real Laker fans, you remember this, and it was a picture of Kobe smiling. It was like media day, and just a whole bunch of dudes in the background. And I was trying to look at all the players. And I was like, I could only name a few of them. Xavier Henry, Chris Kaman, Robert Sacrai, Wesley
Bobby
Johnson.
Sacre, wow.
And it was, but you know what? If I could just sum it up to one image, it's got to be Chris Kaman laying on the bench, right? You know,
Ryan Kelly and Tarek Black were in that lineup too.
It's been tough, man. It was really tough. You know, it's been a rough stretch. I wish. You know what? I guess everybody's got to have their ups and downs, though, right? I mean, the Lakers, they had their rough, decade, and that kind of goes back to what Kyle was talking about last week with the whole Celtics Lakers debate. But while the Lakers took their step back, it gave the opportunity for other dynasties to arise, and that ended up being the Warriors, which is kind of odd in itself because, I mean, for a second, everyone thought OKC was going to be that next dynasty, and the Warriors kind of became what OKC was supposed to be. But that's just my opinion. But that's to sum it. I'm sorry, I stretched that out really long. But to sum it up for you, it's Chris Kaman laying on the bench because we don't have enough players. Because all our players who are even forgotten names now, they were all hurt for some reason. So it's been a tough stretch, and I'm glad that we are in this position now where there is no home court. So, but yeah, we'll go ahead, Mike. You go ahead and take over for me, man. I'm over here being sad.
The one thing that I do remember, Ollie, I think it was around this time with Swaggy P shooting that three, turning around, but he made it. And he missed. So just shenanigans. Lakers, people were just talking about, the Lakers suck, man. Lakers trash. I was like, all right, they're the Lakers, and if you think about it, they're in LA, they're one of the big market franchises. So even if they aren't good, people are still gonna go see them. And then eventually, if they don't draft somebody's gonna just go there because it's LA. So I'm like, eventually they're gonna be good again, and here we are.
Kyle, what about you, man?
I had literally the same answer as Mike. The Nick Young turning around was the funniest thing I've seen. And what's funny, a lot of people didn't see this one. Kemba Walker did it when he was on the Hornets. He even did a little shimmy after. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I do remember that.
That's irrelevant, but that was just kind of funny. But yeah, I had the same exact answer planned. The Nick Young thing was hilarious. But aside from the memory, though, how about some of those starting lineups? Like Isaiah said, yeah, Ryan Kelly, Wayne Ellington, Tarek Black, Robert Sacre. Jordan Clarkson was the only half decent one there.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
For me, I would agree. It's probably going to be like my second or third favorite or most memorable, because the first would be Kobe's 60-point game in his final game. And the thing is, and I have proof, I can go back to that day in my Facebook, and at 1 p.m., I said it would be fitting if Bean went out with 60 points in his final game, hitting the game-winning free throws with the Lakers winning. I literally put that, and my good friend who covers sports in LA, Nick Hamilton, showed Kobe that after the game, and Kobe smiled and was like, only JoJo would say something like that, with my broke down ass. So it was funny that took place. But it wouldn't even be my second, because my second memory would be Kobe walking off after he tore his Achilles.
So does that count? Does that one count? Because that was his last gut-wrenching performance to put the Lakers into the playoffs.
Well, that's true, but still,
So I get what you're saying. It's sad
that's still. But I think the most memorable thing for me that stands out isn't the horrible rosters. It isn't the saga that nobody really knows about how Mike D'Antoni really got hired over Phil Jackson and what went in between that. And I think I shared it with you privately, Isaiah, which was a crazy story. To me, it's Kobe walking out going to practice. And I was there when it happened. I was with Serena Winters. And Kobe walking out of practice saying, "This is what you got, man. This is why we're effing practicing. Man, I'm getting effing better. They're a bunch of bitches." When Kobe walked out of practice, that to me was one of the, if not the most memorable moments, because it summed up the Lakers at that time. It summed up perfectly who the Lakers were. Guys that were entitled, that thought they were superstars, that got ran away from other teams and overpaid to play for the Lakers because they were devoid of talent and desperate to put people around Kobe because they were living in the Lakers' historic image. And that's one thing I had a problem with Jim Buss and even Mitch Kupchak to a certain extent. They thought no matter what, the Lakers are always going to be the Lakers. They weren't forward thinking enough. And that's why some of the league caught up with them. And that's why I think even hiring Magic was genius for the amount of time that he was there, because he was able to land LeBron. He was able to really put the Lakers back in the center of the NBA free agent world. But it also allowed Rob Pelinka to take over and be a forward thinking, progressive guy that put the Lakers where they are today.
It's all true.
Facts.
Damn, y'all make me feel like I'm smart or something.
You were just going. Your voice, you were into it. I was like, let Joe go.
Man,
let Joe go.
Oh, shit. But, so now it's like you kind of touched on it earlier when you said, I think it was Mike that said, now that the Lakers got the number one seed locked up, and I talked about this on not only WWJD, but also the Franchise Podcast, which airs on Thursdays on Franchise Sports Media. Does having a number one seed even matter at this point, other than who you play against? Because there's no home court advantage. I mean, look, the reality is no one's coming to the Staples Center where you're hearing Lawrence Tanner and now your world champion Los Angeles Lakers. You're not hearing Lawrence anymore. You're hearing some other dude that's in the bubble. You don't have Laker fans outside. You don't have the banners and you don't have the retired jerseys. The mystique isn't there. You're all playing AAU ball in the gym. It's the AAU tournament for adults. Does having the number one seed even matter at this point, Mike?
Yes, I think it does, because although you lose out on that home court advantage, you don't lose out on the matchups. You're still the number one seed, which means you still play the 8th seed in the first round. So you still, I wouldn't say it would be harder. I wouldn't say it would be easier, but it's kind of a reward. You're still the best team, so I would say somewhat of I wouldn't say easier, but it's a lot. It won't be as hard for them to get through the first round, second round, maybe it gets harder. Like for other teams, the lower seed teams it's gonna be hard. They're gonna play against tougher opponents than the Lakers would have to play against, and that's what the number one seed. I think that's the best thing that you get out of it right now, other than home court advantage, would be that.
Oh yeah, like for the majority of the teams in the Western Conference, I'd say it doesn't matter that much because they're all like equally skilled. But the gap between the 7th-seeded Mavericks and the 8th-seeded currently at the time, the 8th-seeded Grizzlies, is huge. It's like an 8-game gap, and you could tell. Like compare their talent. The Grizzlies, Blazers, and Spurs are fighting for the 8th seed, and if they're like those 3 teams, you could compare them to the Mavericks. And those 3 teams I named were great, but the Mavericks are way better. I'm not saying Luka's gonna go off and beat LeBron in the playoffs, but the odds of that happening are actually a lot higher. But like anywhere between like the 2nd seed to the 7th, they're all really close and really great teams, to the point I say those placements don't matter, but to the Lakers it does. Like because they're in first right now, and the gap between 7 and 8 is that big.
Yeah, I gotta agree. So altogether, it doesn't matter. It only matters up until the second round, I want to say, because I agree with what they said. Matchups, you're gonna have them versus the 8th or 9th seeded team. Whoever wins in that that win playoff game between 8 and 9.
Yeah,
and there is, and the play-in. Thank you. And he's right about the gap between Dallas is at 7 and whoever ends up. Well, right now it's Memphis at 8. He's right. There's an 8-game gap. So the Lakers getting number one seed is vital for this first round matchup. But once they go into the second round, it kind of doesn't really matter anymore because there is no home court advantage. Because he's right. I mean, between 1 and 7, it's a really competitive Western Conference, which is no surprise to anybody. We all know about this. So, for right now, yes, it's important they have the 1 seed, but if we're talking about long game, it really doesn't mean much in this bubble season.
See, I hate to be the old crotchety dude in the room, but it means everything to them to be the 1 seed because what you did all season is prove you're the best team in the West. You asserted your dominance over everybody else in the Western Conference. People can say what they want about the Clippers. The Clippers don't want to fall out away from that 3rd seed because they're looking at the Lakers in the 2nd round if they do. That's why you want to be the 1 seed. The Clippers haven't made it past the 1st round in their history of their team, folks. Let's not forget that. They have to get out the 1st round first, and that's not guaranteed. And I'll tell you what, you put them against that Pelican team, if they're able to – that Pelican team is scary. Brandon Ingram is playing some really, really good ball right now. Like, I think that time off from the bubble or time off from Corona and being in the bubble has really helped him. And,
for sure.
And keep this in mind, too, and people don't talk about this, but some people play better without fans. You know, a perfect example is DeAndre Jordan. Now, when I was doing Clipper pregame for 2 years, I would be there early at Staples Center, and DeAndre's shooting free throws, making 7 out of 10 free throws. But that season, he shot like 30-40% because crowd was there and the noise and everything else. So for me, the number 1 seed is really important. Yeah, you don't have home court advantage. That's low-hanging fruit to me because you're getting the lowest seed every time you play. You're getting 8, then you're getting 4, then you're in the conference finals or whatever, and you have the team that's earned it. For the Lakers to be able to have that and play the lowest seed is going to help them. Let them play the Grizzlies in the first. I don't want to see Portland in the 1st round because Dame Dollar scares the hell out of me. I think he's one of the top 2 guards in the top 2 or 3 guards in the league without a doubt. Very underrated. If he was anywhere but Portland. He's a household name. Oh, right,
yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, I'm looking at it as you play Memphis round 1, you're going to be able to rest LeBron and AD a little bit. Let's be real. It's John Morant and a bunch of who the hell are you? I've never heard of you unless you're a really, really big time NBA fan.
Especially because Jackson got announced injured.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have things there. I just look at it as at the end of the day, you want to play the lower seeds. You've earned that right, and that's why I think it's important that LeBron and AD keep playing. That's why I think it's important because you got to get Danny Green going. You got to get Caldwell Pope going. You got to get Dwight Howard and JaVale going because let's be honest, they played up and down, and that's at best. I'm being kind when I say I'm playing up and down sporadically, however you want to say it. They played like trash for the most part since they came into the bubble in these games. They got to do a better job now that the spotlight is on them because without Rondo, at least until the 2nd round, and not having Avery Bradley there for that 3-and-D, the Lakers could be not in trouble, but not as strong as we once thought they were. So I do think having the number 1 seed is critical for the Lakers.
So I'm glad you brought up that point. Talking about who is going to, who would you want to see the Lakers face in the 1st round? You said you don't want to see Portland because of Damian Lillard. But you would much rather see Memphis, is that correct?
Memphis or somebody else. I don't want to see Portland. Look,
for sure not Portland.
No, I don't want to look.
Pelicans, fine.
I don't want to see the Pelicans. Well, I'll take the Pelicans too, because Anthony Davis is going to beat the brakes off the Pelicans, and LeBron's going to punk Lonzo Ball. I mean, like it's. I would love to see that because honestly, look, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a Ball fan. Okay. I'm not as Nick Hamilton would say, I'm not a Puffy Knight LeVar Ball fan. Okay, that's just not me. So I wouldn't mind seeing the Pelicans. I think that would be, it got to be poetic because look at how the Pelicans drug out Anthony Davis's trade to the Lakers. Look at what ended up happening. Look at the players that are on both teams now. Rondo. Even though he's not in the bubble yet, but. When you look at the whole scenario, I think it would be kind of poetic that the Pelicans and Lakers play in round 1.
I do agree that would be really poetic, and I was kind of a dream of mine all season long. So I'm not a LeVar Ball fan, but I am a Lonzo fan just because what he did for the IE and
IE stand up.
You know what I mean? So what he did, because he was the first one. Unfortunately, he was the test dummy for the brand and all this and that, and it backfired on him, obviously. which is now how we get to see Melo ball. Try to listen to his brother and be like, hey, don't do what dad says. Listen to all these brands and whatnot, right? It's unfortunate he didn't pan out in the Laker uniform, but he's now on this New Orleans squad. He's having his best season. B.I. is having his best season, all-star. Like you said, he's balling out right now. Sometimes he can't even miss. And when they let him play like he did in that Memphis game, he could put up the numbers. It would be really exciting to see him against the Lakers. That's a lot more safer because in their, I think, three times they met up this season. The Lakers beat him all 3 times, and AD usually throws up monster numbers like 30 or 40 points like he's been doing already. So that is a safe choice. I agree, especially with Memphis being this who I would like to see as well, because right now they still have not won a game in the bubble yet. So they're kind of dwindling down. Like Kyle mentioned, Jaren Jackson Jr. just announced that he tore his meniscus in his left knee. He's done for the season. It's unfortunate for them because he averages 17.4, I believe, which is right underneath Ja with 17.7. So that's a big loss for them. And I think we all have the same answer. Maybe I'm wrong. I can let Mike and Kyle talk after I say this, but I agree with you. Portland is not who I want to see because not just Dame, he's got CJ too, who has proven he could be clutch when he went off against the Nuggets in Game 7 last year. But now they have Nurkic who's back, right? They have I'm blanking right. Zach Collins, he's back. Yep. So they are a scary team. But unfortunately, we got to hope that they keep losing. I know they got a tough game against Houston, who hasn't lost yet either. But right now, it's not looking good. If we want to see Memphis in the playoffs, they got to win some games. It's not looking good for them. New Orleans, I'm not sure what's up with the Zion thing, but we'll get into that. But Mike, man, what do you think? Who would you rather see? Who would you not rather see?
I wouldn't want the Lakers to see. I don't know if the Spurs are still in it. I don't want to see the Spurs because the Spurs, they aren't the greatest team, but they're not. They're still the Spurs. Like, they're still a solid team. That just shows you how deep the Western Conference is. Portland went to the Western Conference Finals last season, and now they're fighting for the 8th seed, and they haven't really changed that much. So that just shows you how much better the Western Conference is.
Well, real quick, I feel like the reason why they took that drop was because Nurkic was down, Collins was down. Like, they had injury problems, but those guys are back. So that's why they are a scary team now. But go ahead.
Since they were all gone, it's kind of like it'd be if they do make the playoffs, it'd be like a fluky 8th seed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they wouldn't have been there most likely if the players weren't hurt. Anyways, go Mike. I'm sorry.
But still, even then, even without Nurkic being there, I still wouldn't want to see Portland. Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, they can go off. Melo every now, when Melo gets it going, he can go. He might pop off for 30. You never know.
Forgot about Melo.
Get Carmelo one day, especially in the playoffs. Carmelo was clutch. So, I mean, they might be a problem, but I wouldn't want to see them. And I also said, like I said, I wouldn't want to see San Antonio either. They got some good players. They have a good coach. Like, they're a solid team. So I wouldn't want to see the Lakers play them. I mean, the Lakers probably still would beat them in 5 games, but I'd rather see Memphis than anybody else. If I had to choose, it would be Memphis.
Give me San Antonio, bro. I want to beat the brakes off of Popovich. All the damn head and everything that he talks with that sorry-ass team he has now. No Tim Duncan. Popovich has proven he's an average coach because he can't persuade the league to cheat.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I said it. I said it. I said it.
No, Joe.
I might be with you on that one because I don't know about average. I don't know about average, but he's not the. Don't put him over Phil Jackson.
Hell no.
You know
Hell no. Don't put him over Dead Arbach either.
Dead Arbach.
He's still a great coach. You can't take that away from him.
I just stay away. Who was the coach with the oh no, that was Larry Brown. My bad. That had the dream team that just F it all up and get a bronze medal.
4.
Yeah. I mean yeah, but go ahead, Kyle. Who? I'm sorry. Like I just that whole San Antonio. I would love the Lakers to beat the shit out of San Antonio. I'm sorry.
That would be nice, though. That would be nice.
Who would you rather the Lakers face, Kyle?
From a Lakers perspective, it has to be the Grizzlies, especially with the sad Jaren Jackson injury. They're the least, other than Morant, they're the least star-studded team here. I'd say other than, it's debatable with the Spurs, but as much as you don't like them, I'd rather face the Grizzlies with no Jackson than Popovich with a average team. But as a fan perspective, I really want to see Zion in the playoffs. I love watching that guy play. And then I just watch him get swept by the Lakers. So, yeah.
Do you know what I love about Kyle? Like, seriously, when I say this with all love, Kyle is like tries to be the voice of reason on the show. He's like, well, from a Lakers perspective, but he's really trying to say is, look, the Lakers want this because this is the sorry team right here. From a basketball perspective, it would be this team. Kyle's like the voice of reason on the show. I'm like the, I don't know. I'm the
savage.
I am for real. I am. I don't care. Damn that.
I mean, honestly though, it don't really matter who they play. I mean, if they do, except for Portland. But if they do play, let's say they do play the Spurs. I mean, Spurs have LaMarcus Aldridge solid. DeMar DeRozan.
Oh,
DeMar DeRozan.
Don't want to be there.
And then DeMar DeRozan got traded.
Want to be there. You don't
DeMar
want to
DeRozan. I think he has some type of phobia or something like that when it comes to LeBron James. Because every time they play in the playoffs, like, he can't seem to do anything. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter. But I still wouldn't want to see them. I'd rather see them
frozen.
Everybody else.
Look, DeMar DeRozan. I think he's a free agent at the end of the year too. Am I right? Isn't he free? You guys want? I don't know if he. I thought, or he's like has 1 year left. Cause I know it's like coming up at the end of a deal. Like, DeMar don't want to be there. Dude, like, let's be real. The only person that really truly wanted to be in San Antonio forever is Tim Duncan. He's the only person. Nobody else wants to be. It's San Antonio. Okay, DeMar's from the city. DeMar's in LA. He's like, look, Brian, I'll come over here and play that 2 for you, bro. I'll play 3 and D. Let me come to LA. Bro. Like holler at me. I'll sign the clutch. Rich, holler at me. DeMar, baby. I'm gonna throw the dub up. Like come through. Like, I don't want to be down here. I was cool in T-Dot. Now that I'm here, I'm like, I'm stuck. Help a brother out. I'm tired of playing for Popovich. Even LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the most passive people I've ever covered, like been around. He don't like Popovich.
Really?
Yeah, like that's what he wanted out after the first year. Like, he was done there. And then they like, he had to have a meeting with him, be like, look, man, either you're going to run it through me or not. You pay me this money. Like I'm telling you, the perception of Popovich amongst people, because the media likes him, because, and you talk about me being a savage, look at that passive aggressive ass during interviews on this, like, Mike, what do you think about?
True.
We need to play better. Like, what? Like, what the? Shut the fuck up, man. Like, you're crazy. Like, come at me like that on an interview. I'm gonna come back and clown you. Straight up.
That's one thing I was saying. This is a bit off topic, so we'll go on to the next thing right after I say this. But my brother, because y'all know I'm a Patriots fan since day one. My brother hates Belichick because his passive aggressive attitude thing. Like, but he loves Popovich. I'm like, they're literally the clones of each other in different sports.
They kind of are, though. They are.
No. My brother's like, yeah, Popovich is chill, though. Belichick's an asshole. I'm like, dude, they're like the exact same. Have you seen them talk?
I know 2 guys that played for Belichick. They say he's the coolest dude on 2 feet. Like, Belichick is super cool. What you see media-wise is trumped up because that's what he wants to play that role. I didn't run to Cincinnati. But the reality is, they say in meetings, he's like, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna mess with the media. Like, seriously, like my boy Kyle Offery told me this. Kyle was a tight end for the Patriots for a couple years, and I was on their practice squad, and known him for a while. Same thing with Daniel Robinson, was receiver for the Patriots on their practice squad. Said he's the coolest guy they've ever met. So, but you're right. The perception is Popovich is this dominant head coach because he had the titles and he won them while Phil was still coaching and while Shaq and Kobe were in the league. And yeah, that's true. But he also had two of the best big men in NBA history. They do people dirty there, but the Lakers now have one of the best bigs in history wearing purple and gold again in Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And up aside from the game 2 of the bubble against the Raptors, who have one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, Anthony Davis has been utterly filthy and dominant since the return to the bubble. For me, and I talked about it last week on the show, this is the Anthony Davis is playoff Anthony Davis, and we haven't even scratched the surface with playoff Anthony Davis. How do you think that he's going to be able to continue this style of play once the playoffs get started?
I do, 100%. I think he's criticized unfairly by some because I don't know if I'm just finding some toxic people, but a bunch of people are saying like AD's not that good. I mean, look at him in the playoffs. What has he really done? I'm like, he literally murdered the Blazers when that series was supposed to be the closest series of the playoffs at the time. He just said no and swept them. And a lot of people don't give him credit for that. Like, I know a couple people and seen it on the internet. They're like, he hasn't really done anything. I'm like, the Pelicans team is underrated. Holiday's great. But that's not a championship caliber team. What, did you expect him to go all the way to the finals? Like, he swept a great Damian Lillard-led team. That's enough. And he murdered them too. And he's going to murder in this playoffs again with LeBron by his side. And it's going to be scary.
Yeah, I got to agree. I also got to admit that I used to be one of those people too, because I was worried about AD when we got him because not only has he not been able to do too much in the postseason, but he gets injured kind of often. So that was what I was a little worried about. But I know I probably am one of those people that told you that, Kyle, where we talked about him in the playoffs and he hasn't really done much. Because he really never really had the opportunity to, except for that one postseason appearance where they did go off on the Blazers, and they were the lower seed in that meeting as well. I think it was like a 3-6, and they upset the Blazers. And another key thing that I think a lot of people forget is his point guard in that series was Rondo, who the Lakers also have. So I don't know when Rondo's going to come back. I did just read that he is planning to come back to Florida tomorrow, and he's going to do some rehab and training outside of the bubble before coming back. That's what Frank Vogel said. So I am excited for that. But I do like this whole dynamic of Rondo feeding AD in the playoffs because it worked before in the past. And then you have Bron too. Like it is a deadly mix. And I'm loving what I see out of AD right now. He's showing that toughness because I wasn't sure what was going to happen when he got poked in the eye. I thought he was going to take it easy maybe, in these seeding games because they didn't really matter as much. But he proved me wrong, and I hope he continues to do so. I'm confident that he will because right now he looks like a man on a mission to prove all the doubters wrong. So I got to agree with you on that one too as well, Kyle.
Yeah, he's gonna go beast mode. I don't think anybody can stop him. I mean, he's dominant in the post. He hits you with his little move. He hit him with that the step through. I don't know. He does this move, and he get people with it all the time. And every time I watch him, he does it. And like his little moves, like if he can't get you to one thing, he has something in his arsenal to make you look like a clown. And then he's so defensive, and like like if he somehow managed to try to stop him on offense, he still might get a block out of you. He still can go for maybe 10, 12 rebounds if he felt like it. Like Anthony Davis is a monster among men. So with that being said, I think he'll dominate, and it only makes it better that he's playing with LeBron James. I mean, you see what happened with, for example, this is just an example, like Kevin Love when he was with the Timberwolves and do shit. Then he went to the Cavaliers and won a title. He didn't really do too much, but he still helped. So you look at Anthony Davis, he didn't have like a star player. He's playing with LeBron James in a team that is built like a team that is built strategically, not just players signed to this team. This team was signed and put together for this specific purpose. So everything will work, and he's gonna feast. Everybody's gonna feast, and they will be in the Western Conference Finals. In the finals, and they probably will be champions.
I look, man. You getting me with my first. You're getting me with the Spur talk. Now you're saying probably, Mike. Come on, man. Look, I'm gonna be real. Anthony Davis, one, is the best big man and the best player LeBron has had as a teammate over Wade and over Kyrie, because he complements LeBron perfectly. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I know Reggie Miller tried to bring it up and talk about it. Nah, that ain't really the case. Look, LeBron wanted AD for a reason. Okay, AD is the best big man in the game right now. Currently, I'll take him over anybody. Any big man playing the 4 or the 5, give me AD over them. He is that type of guy, dude. AD in the playoffs, will it continue? I know I asked the question. Hell yes, it will continue. I'm going to tell you why, and it's real simple. He understands legacy. He's from Chicago, one of the basketball meccas. You have Chicago, LA, and New York. Okay. He went to the same high school as Benji Wilson, as Derrick Rose, as Nick Anderson, went to Simeon High School. Okay. That is one of the best basketball programs, public schools. I believe it's a public school in the city of Chicago. He played against grown men. He understands that watching the Bulls when they were in their glory years as a young kid, watching LeBron, watching Kobe, watching the Shaqs. He's a guy, man, my people trying to call me. It's crazy. He understands that the Lakers and winning the title with the Lakers will do more for him in basketball, I guess his legacy, than anything else. He's about winning titles right now. The best place for him to do it, he knew, was in LA. What he's doing now is, I need to win. I need to win. And he knows, and LeBron knows, and the only way LeBron to help his legacy is to feed Anthony Davis and keep him going. So to me, there's no doubt in my mind that AD is going to continue his dominance in the playoffs. But something that I think, and I hate to say this because I hate Mike D'Antoni. I call him Mike D'Antoni because he don't play any D, and he probably don't have a D. Yeah, so Mike D'Antoni, I think, is one. Mike D'Antoni and Greg Popovich are two of the most overrated coaches in NBA history. I would say that. Period.
How many people rate D'Antoni high though? I don't know that many. Like Popovich, I understand. But I don't. From what I've seen on Twitter or anything, all I see is people shitting on D'Antoni. I don't see a lot of people rating him high.
Believe me, I'm a Rockets fan. Like, I'm a Popovich maybe, but D'Antoni, like, I'm so critical about my teams. And D'Antoni.
Wait. So are you coming out the closet?
About this
Are you coming out the closet as a Rockets fan, Mike? Is that what you're saying? You're a Rockets fan. You coming out the closet now?
You introduced us to the show as Rockets fans.
I know I did.
The Rockets play, so I guess you can say that. But every time I see the Rockets, every time I watch them play, when it's not working, because I know it's gonna work for a certain amount of time with James Harden, he does his thing, but he can't do that all the time. So when it doesn't happen, it's like, see, this is the problem. And I always go on this rant. D'Antoni, all he does is uses the stars, and like that's it. And he doesn't have anybody else who can play, who can create for themselves and create for others. It's just like James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Y'all go out there and play. Everybody else just post up for the three. That's it. Look at
Mike D'Antoni. He runs his stars into the ground. Look at Steve Nash in his back. Look at Kobe. Okay. Look at Amari Stoudemire. You go look at where everywhere he's gone, his stars get ran into the ground. He quit on the Knicks. Let's be real about this. He didn't get fired. He said, I can't coach here. I'm done. I can't do it. Sorry if I yelled in your ear. But that's what Mike D'Antoni did. So I have no respect for D'Antoni as a coach. Very little. The bottom line is his style. Kobe said it. He said an next Tracy McGrady, it'll never win a title. Ever. Well, though, what the Rockets did do, and I'll give them credit. I'll give Daryl Morey credit for this. They said, okay, you want to play your game? You want to play your style of ball? We're going to go small. And that's going to cause some teams fits in the regular season. Playoff basketball is completely different. 100% different. You win with bigs and you win with execution and running an offense. You don't win by running up and down, playing ball like you're playing at the Rucker or down at Venice Beach. That's what D'Antoni likes to do. So, Kyle, I'm going to ask you, being that you're also a Rockets fan, they haven't lost a game since they've been in the bubble, and Harden is back to playing like he's in the Drew League, just putting up shots.
Really?
Do you think they can compete with the Lakers or the Clippers? And I'm throwing a little brother in there to be nice.
Yeah, they're gonna win the finals. I'm kidding. Honestly, even though I'm a fan, no. As a fan, no. That was 100% joke. Honestly, I say if Harden has those like 50-point games and he continues going off, they win 2 games at max against any of those teams. It was a joke, Joe. It was a joke. They're not winning no ring. They're not going to make it.
Matters how good he does. I don't think it matters how good I don't think it matters how good James Harden does, because eventually it's going to come down. All the playoff games come down to like half-court offense, like Joe said, execution. Once he can't drop a shot, and teams figure out, hey, he likes to go. They're going to look at the stats. They're going to look at analytics where, hey, whenever he gets in this position, he likes to go to this. They're going to have everything locked down. He's not going to be able to do everything, and that's a Rockets problem. They don't have a plan B. They only have this plan. If this doesn't work, then what are they going to do? And that's why they've been getting their ass beat every time James Harden can't do anything in the playoffs, and that's why they won't do shit. So I'm not worried about them. Man, I just don't know what it is. I'm a Rockets fan, but like, damn, come on now.
Mike, just come over to the purple and gold. It's okay. We got room for you. We got room for you in the seat.
How can I
got more red jerseys than Rockets jerseys, to be honest, in my closet right now.
Yeah, you get the best thing about the Rockets is the colors. Find new pie till I die. Yo. Anyway, Isaiah, what you got for this, man? What you think?
Oh, well, I mean, they hit it on the head, for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe. The Rockets are always kind of that obstacle that's left standing for the Warriors on their way to the finals, but they can never get over the hump. And it's just, you're right. It's D'Antoni. It's what he does. You proved a good point. He does run his players to the ground everywhere he's gone. I mean, we're seeing that every year with Harden. Like, he hits a wall once they get to that big obstacle, which has been the Warriors for them. And, people like to say, hey, maybe if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt that one season, they could beat him. I personally don't. I don't think so, though, because I mean, I was talking to Kyle a little bit before off the air, but Chris Paul has always been that guy who just is not. He just has that curse. He cannot get past the second round himself. He did get past the second round with Rockets, but he can't get over that hump. You know what I mean? So when he was on the Clippers all those years, I always knew they were never going to win. So I like how they traded Chris Paul for for Russell Westbrook, because like Mike said, all they could do is just go through Harden. And now they got another former MVP in Westbrook. I mean, I know he kind of has his faults too, but at least maybe he could pick up some slack when Harden's not knocking down those shots. You know what I'm saying? I will say though, they are a good regular season team, but I mean the playoffs, man, they can't get over that hump, man. So I'm not worried about that. Mike said it true. Mike said it right. 50 points, they're gonna win. Or no, Kyle said it. 50 points, they're gonna win like maybe one game. If they're lucky, Harden might hit that buzzer beater to win a second game, but they're not gonna go any further than that.
Honestly, even though I'm a Rockets fan, I laugh at it. Since they're trying out this new small ball pocket Rockets, watching AD bully PJ Tucker is going to be kind of funny. I'm a Rockets fan, but I'm going to laugh when I watch it sometimes.
They're the Houston Vibrators now? What the hell? Like the pocket rocket? Are you kidding me?
That's what I'd be calling them. They're small. I'm the pocket rocket.
Mike
didn't
No
mean to make
D.
that kind of reference.
Mike No D'Antoni needs a pocket rocket. Go figure.
I didn't mean to make that kind of reference.
Let me say this though. I think the Rockets, the best chance the Rockets had to win the championship was when they had Chris Paul. Because Chris Paul is a shot creator. I mean, he's a pass first guard, but he can create his own shot and he can shoot. Westbrook can't shoot, and that's the problem. Whenever it comes down, they're worse off without Westbrook. It helps that they don't have a center, so Westbrook can get inside the paint. But without having that guard who can shoot, like when Harden goes down, Westbrook not going to be able to do anything. All he's going to do is try to go into the paint, and teams are going to be able to play defense and not let him drive. And then what? Then they're really going to be screwed. They were better off of Chris Paul, who can kind of make something happen for other people.
Man, you know what makes something happen because he flops, bro. Chris Paul is like the biggest flopper I've ever seen.
Vlade was better, but yeah.
Oh, true. Well, I mean, yeah, that was a little for my time, but that's why Chris Paul always like makes things happen because he like throws his body in the ground and then gets a foul call.
Okay,
but in those Warriors games, whenever they're playing against the Warriors, the first half it would be like literally like I say like 3 or 4 of those games. James Harden would pop off for like 30-something points in the first half. In the second half, he's invisible. But who was there scoring the rest of the points and carry the team? Chris Paul. Westbrook is not going to be able to carry the team on his back like Chris Paul did whenever they were in the playoffs. So I don't. Either way, it doesn't matter. They still going to lose. I don't even know what we talking about.
Okay, look. I'm going to tell you guys the biggest secret in the NBA, okay? I want the Lakers to hear me. I want Laker Nation. Hold on, let me tap my mic. You hear me? Shh, check. Okay, check it out. James Harden only goes left. Force him right. James Harden, you tie his left hand behind his back. He's a one-arm kick. He's a one-legged kickboxer. If you tie his left arm behind his leg, same thing with Goran Dragic. Play his left, force him right because he can't do it. And you know what? I liked what the Lakers did last year. LeBron put his hands behind his back and was like, "Go ahead, I'm gonna play you left. I'm gonna play with my hands behind your back because guess what? I'm not gonna jump up with you when you do this and let you fall into me because my hands are like this. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna hurt James Harden. When the Milwaukee Bucks played them last year, Mike Budenholzer, who was named co-NBA Coach of the Year along with Billy Donovan earlier on Tuesday, they put the game plan and the blueprint together to stop James Harden and Mike D'Antoni's offense. Now, I'm going to go off the rundown and kind of skip ahead to the Chris Paul thing since we've been talking about him. I'm going to say this publicly for the first time, I think ever. Chris Paul is the most disingenuous, fake person in the NBA that I have ever met.
Let him know.
He's about Chris Paul, and that's it. I literally witnessed him attitude-wise to people that came up to him literally to after. In fact, okay, I'll tell the story real quick. It was after game 4 of the series when he was with the Clippers, and they went up 3-1, ironically, against Houston. Austin Rivers hit him for like 18 in the third quarter, went off, right? Chris had just came back from either an ankle injury or a groin injury because he's always injured, so I can't remember which one it was. It was on his birthday at that. After the game, after his media availability, I was already out the Clippers locker room, and I was getting ready to bounce. And I ran into him, and I said, "Yo, what's up?" He's like, "Hey, what's up, Joe?" And we gave each other some love for a minute. He had little Chris with him. And some guy who worked at Staples Center, I don't know if he was a parking attendant or he worked in the back, whatever, was like, "Hey, CP3, hey, what's up, baby? Good game, yeah." Chris is like, "Oh, yeah, hey, great, all right." And then he turned right back to me, rolled his eyes, and shook his head. Like, it took the smile right off his face. And it shook his head. I was like, "All right, whatever." Like, dude, you just made that dude's night. And you just won a game on your birthday. And you're up 3-1 against the Rockets. Now, I knew a bunch of dudes in that locker room. Guys like DeAndre and Matt Barnes and Spencer Hawes and Jamal Crawford in particular. I feel bad for them for blowing that 3-1 lead, but I don't feel bad for Chris Paul. because you know what? He deserves to not win a ring. Bottom line. And I'm in looking back now, do you know why that trade happened or didn't happen? Why they called it basketball reasons? It's story time with Uncle Joe. I'm sorry, folks. I hate to do this to you and bore you. But the ink wasn't dry on the CBA when they pulled off the trade. If they would have waited at least a day or two, maybe 3, they would have probably had the trade go through. But because it happened like 20 minutes or less than an hour after the new CBA went through when the players were locked out or were striking, that's why people got pissed and said no. And you know why he was traded to the Clippers? Because Chris Paul's people said he's only playing in LA. I don't care if it's the Lakers or the Clippers. And Jordan Brand orchestrated the trade with the Clippers. Nobody else was involved. The Clippers had to pull people off a promotional tour that they were doing for the Clippers Foundation, Clippers in the community, to tell the guys they were traded. And believe me, Blake and DeAndre were not happy that Chris Paul got traded there. They were pretty pissed off at it, actually. So Chris Paul isn't well liked. And the beef wasn't DeAndre and Chris Paul. It was Blake and Chris Paul. DeAndre was the middleman. So I'm kind of glad Chris Paul wasn't wearing purple and gold, because at the end of the day, that really, it sucked at the moment. But at the end of the day, it's better for the Lakers because Chris Paul is a douchebag.
I mean, I feel like Mike has a lot to say on that. I'll go ahead and let you go ahead and talk about that, Mike.
I'm just co-signing. Just let him know. I mean, because Joe been around them parts, man. He been around them parts, so he didn't see some stuff, and it's crazy because like you only know what people show you. People only show you what they want you to see. So like, Chris Paul has always portrayed himself to be a certain type of way, and people look at other people funny when they say something about that. Like Rondo was like, "Hey, y'all, Chris Paul ain't like who y'all think he is," and people will just be like, "Well, he just mad at him." But if you think about it, people aren't always what they see in the book. You know, I forgot to say some of the book, but basically, people aren't always who they seem to be. So there it is.
What do you think about that, Kyle? Yeah.
I mean, Joe's seen it. I believe him. It's facts. I will say, though, and Joe's going to yell at me some more, I do think Chris Paul as a basketball player is fairly uncriticized. I don't think he deserves to be a finals virgin, but after hearing him as a person, yes, but he's a hell of a ball player. Like when he was on the Hornets, people forget he was carrying them, trying to come close to even to beating the Lakers, which obviously he couldn't do because Kobe Bryant's, Kobe freaking Bryant. But Chris Paul, he did great those games. People forget, like, whenever they call him a finals virgin, he's played his ass off in the playoffs that he wasn't actually hurt for. He's done great in them. The Hornets, he carried. The Clippers, whenever he could play, he did great. It's just there's too much talent in the league, and that's one of those examples. It's kind of like, and I'm not saying he's anywhere near his caliber. It's kind of like a John Stockton scenario not winning his ring. He just couldn't do it. Too much talent with Michael. Not saying Chris Paul's anywhere near Stockton, but he is a top 5 point guard. At least top 10 of all time. Yes.
Top 5 all time.
Debatably. Top 10 for sure. I think Paul's better than Nash.
Okay, Nash is the most overrated point guard in the history of the NBA. I call him Skeletor. He looks like Skeletor from He-Man, okay? Like, he gunning ski masked a paycheck from the Lakers. He knew he was hurt, and he stole that money from the Lakers. So don't bring up overrated Steve Nash, okay? Secondly, I'm going to tell you the most underrated point guard in the history of the NBA. Rod Strickland, and I would take Rod Strickland over Chris Paul.
He's super underrated. I don't know about that one.
I'll take Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf over Chris Paul.
Oh, okay. Abdul-Rauf was underrated, and he was blackballed from the league, and that was sad. But
I would take Steph Curry over Chris Paul.
Well,
I think a lot of people would now.
I named 3, and I didn't even bring in Magic. You know what I'm saying? Paul ain't number 5. I can tell you that off the rip.
Okay, Magic, Curry, Stockton and I'd say Oscar Robertson are for sure above him. And that's then it's debatable. I said he is debatably number 5, not number 5.
He's in the top 10, but dude, Chris Paul is not even close to top 5. Well, I don't even have a list in front of me. I'm trying to go off my old ass brain, and you got me so fired. Kyle's good for getting me fired up, man. Kyle's a rebel rouser, bro.
Man, we're polar opposites. I swear. Me and Joe are never going to agree on anything.
Ever. If we agree on something, it's snowing in hell and Jesus is coming. So say your prayers. Say your Hail Marys. But you know what? I know we may agree on something, though, Kyle. We may agree on something. You said earlier that you really want to see Zion in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm going to be real. I would have taken Ja Morant over Zion. That's just me. I love Ja's game. In fact, that's a guy I would take over Chris Paul any day of the week. I'm just being real. Like I think he's equal now, and I think his potential is limitless. I'm being real. Maybe it's just my hate for Chris Paul. I don't know, but I'm being real. Chris Paul, yeah, whatever. But Zion, I was always worried about the baby fat. I was worried that, he was injured in college. You hear these, he's undersized. He's not going to be able to bully guys in the NBA. But then I seen him come into the bubble looking like a grown-ass man, not a teenager that he took the offseason serious. Credit the Pelicans strength and conditioning staff. And you know what? I want to see him in the playoffs too. I really do. You know what? He's not going to win Rookie of the Year. It should be Ja Morant.
Zion didn't play enough games.
That's why. That's what I'm saying. We agree. So everybody starts saying Hail Marys.
For real.
But I do want to see Zion in the playoffs. So Isaiah, I'm gonna throw it to you. Like, do you want to see him in the playoffs? And if you do, what do you want to see out of him? Besides taking an L in round 1 to the Lakers.
I would like to see him in the playoffs. It would be exciting. I think that's what everybody wants to see. What I would like to see him do, continue to catch lobs from Zoe and throw him down. But I would like to see him maybe try to expand his mid-range a little bit, because that was my biggest thing when he was going into Duke. I was like, is he really this good though? Look at his high school competition. He was playing in a private school. All the guys he was playing against were like a whole foot smaller than him.
So you're saying he was Bill Russell of his generation?
Yeah. Okay. And he went to Duke, and he proved me wrong a little bit. He went off on Kentucky in that first game of the year. He actually did a little like cross between the legs move and hit a mid-range shot. And he balled out at Duke. So I was like, all right, man, maybe I was wrong on him. This season, I wish he got to play more. I think everyone did. But in the playoffs, I want to see him continue to be just a force. Work on trying to slow down a little bit, because sometimes when he's a full head of steam, he loses control. And I think I remember a few times a few people from Memphis took charges on him and stuff like that. I know the Clippers did a few times too. So I just want to see him continue to try to be a force down low, slow down a little bit. Don't lose control. He reminds me of a young Julius Randle. When Julius first was in the league, he could not control anything, and
just
he used
more
to drive
athletic.
me crazy. Mm-hmm.
More athletic. What you think? What you think, Big Mike?
I think one thing I want to say about Zion, I think people don't give him enough credit for his. He can shoot the ball. He can shoot okay. Like, he can shoot better than some people think he can. So he can make an open shot. So what I want to see out of him, I really want to see his clutch gene. I want to see if he has it. If, like, let's say the game somehow gets close, will he be able to perform in the fourth quarter when they need him to do it? They draft him with the number 1 pick. They say he's the future. So I want to see if he's made of that. See what he's made of. Put him in a situation. He hasn't been put in that situation that many times in the regular season, and quite frankly, I don't even know if he has done it at all. So I want to see, when the game's on the line, what he's going to do and what he's able to do, and that will do a lot for him and for people to see what he's really made of.
I agree with that. I honestly want to see I want to see his approach against the Lakers. I really do, because normally he's setting screens, a lot of pick and rolls going into the paint, catching oops, or just posting up. But JaVale and AD are in that Lakers lineup. So I'm really interested to see if you'd still go in the paint, just try to monster and dunk on somebody, or if he's going to take the ball less, or if he's even going to shoot more. I honestly don't know his approach. I'd have to think about it, study a little more, but see some other Pelicans-Lakers games, even though they lost them all, just to see how he played. But it's interesting. Like, going into the paint against that Laker team is definitely not easy.
Isaiah, I didn't mean to cut you off before. Do you have something to add?
Not really. No, I mean, it's a little tough because we only got to see Zion for a few games this year, so it is a little tough to see what he could bring to the table. I agree with Mike, though. I'd love to see if he could instill that clutch gene, but I don't believe he would get the ball. I think they would rather get the ball to JJ Redick or Brandon Ingram if they wanted to see who can make that last shot. But hey, who knows? Who knows?
I wouldn't mind,
even though like I don't know if he ever was to do it because they got Brandon Ingram. He's usually the last one taking a shot anyway.
Yeah, he is.
But he's kind of earned it. I mean, he was doing the Lakers gave him that responsibility pretty early on in his career. And I like BI. I that's the one guy I did not want. I would have traded Kuzma over BI. And I'm gonna be honest, Kuzma's pissed me off. If I'm being honest, before we get into Final Fantasy, I'm going to be honest about this. Am I the only person that's tired of Kyle Kuzma every damn time he gets in the game? Mm-hmm. Every time.
Shoot.
Got to shoot. The other game against the Raptors, I turned it on third quarter. This fool, LeBron hits 80 swings it to Green, who kicks it over to Kuzma. He takes like 3 dribbles backwards beyond 3 and hoists up a 3 with like 12 seconds left on the shot clock. What in the hell are you doing?
That was a bad play. A bad play.
Stop shooting the damn ball. You want to be the number 3 scorer. Guess what? Play within the realms of the offense and let LeBron and AD do their work. You're going to get your easy points. Just like Shaq. Shaq could walk on a court, not know anything about offense, average 10 and 12 or 12 or 15 and 10 just off rebounds alone. And errant passes and on breaks. Be that guy. You don't have to be the scorer with LeBron and AD in because guess what, Kyle? That's what they are. I'm not being a dick about it. I'm just being real. At some point, he's got to understand his role. That's why I think Ingram would have fit a little bit more. But at the same time, Ingram likes to have the ball in his hands, and that's how he gets his offense going. And he's not going to have that with LeBron in there. So yeah. I see why they keep Kuzma over that.
Yeah, like he's like a good player. He's trying to get his own shot right now. But like, he's playing with AD and LeBron. Or like when he did whenever he was playing with Lonzo in the summer league, whenever they first came in his first couple of seasons, like he just was running the plays or whatever, just playing basketball, and the shots found him. He didn't really have to go do anything. Like he just would play, and the ball came to him in the right spot, and he just is good at making a spot. Now he's trying to do too much. That's really the problem. He needs to just chill out and just let it come to him. He's forcing a lot of stuff right now.
Kyle?
100% agree. He just forces too much shots. Like, he's a great catch and shoot. I've seen him catch and shoot. I mean, LeBron's so good at getting open. I feel like the majority of players are. But for him, he's solid. Catch and shoot. It's just he's just trying to do too much. Like, I get he comes in when LeBron's not on the floor the majority of the time. Not even the majority, but part of the time. But even then, I feel like Caruso's been doing a good job at controlling the offense. Earlier in the season, Rondo does a good job at that. So exactly what Joe said. I can't say it any better. Just how'd you word it? Just stay in the offensive realm. It'll get you your shots.
Yeah, just play within the framework of the offense. You're gonna get your shots no matter what. It's no different than what Glenn Rice's attitude was coming to the triangle. Thought he should have been the second lead scorer when it's Shaq and Kobe. Like, nah, bro, your job was to sit down and bang out threes. That's what Mitch Richmond did when he got his ring with the Lakers. He sat down and your job is to be the spot up 3 guy. That's your job. And if you do, and that's the one thing that I'll say out of the majority of this Laker team does well is they do their own jobs. And Kuzma's the one guy that tries to do a little too much. Hell, Dion Waiters is doing his job, and look at how Dion Waiters is playing. Dion Waiters is playing within the framework of the offense, and that's why he's banging down in open shots. that you want to know what it was earlier in the show, Kyle. That's exactly what it is. He's the anti-Kyle Kuzma. And I'm not trying to be Rip Kuzma. And you know what? And I want to commend him. Look, the dude has earned everything he's got. And he's coming up and he's going to get paid by somebody. It's not going to be the Lakers. And I could totally see them this offseason making a move, getting rid of him and bringing somebody else in, somebody that's going to fit what they want to do. There's no way they're going to pay him the amount of money that he's going to want to get paid. So, Isaiah, do you feel the same way as me, or do you feel differently?
I feel a little different, but you guys are proving some good points. I'm sure you were tired of it too, but I was tired of all this talk throughout the season about trading Kuzma. I was tired of it. It didn't make sense to me. I was like, why do you want to get rid of him for? They were just flaming him. And the thing about Laker fans, I'm a Laker fan too, but sometimes I hate them because they always got to blame someone for something. You know, we're having our best season in almost a decade, but hey, we still got to blame someone. First it was KCP, and it was Rondo, and then the big chunk of it was Kuzma. It didn't make sense, but hey, sometimes the finger always has to be pointed at someone. I remember, what do you call it? I'm blanking on names, but I think it was Jeff. One of our guys, Jeff. Yes, he said so. I always agree with him on Twitter for the most part, but he said the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life earlier in the year when he was saying the Lakers should trade Kuzma for Chris. Was it Chris Dunn?
Chris Dunn. Yes.
Do you remember when he said that? He was he said they should trade him because they would give the same amount as value. He said they were the same amount as value, and I was like, before I could even say anything, you jumped on it, and you were like, Jeff, you sound crazy, and he was like, Joe, you have your purple and gold goggles on. You need to take the goggles off and look at the real stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just barely getting to know Jeff. I ain't gonna say shit. But I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. So I wish there was a big dislike on Twitter, but no, remember when he said that? At the end of the day, yes, Kuzma does his mistakes, like that play where he dribbles, try to do too much. But sometimes he had to do something when he's not on the court with Bron or AD. When he's on the court with him, yes, do your role. The ball will come to you. And let me say this. I try not to be biased here, but Kyle Kuzma would not be who he is right now if there was no Lonzo Ball to feed him the ball. I'm being serious. There is no Kuzma without Lonzo.
You were at the Summer League game, so you've seen the impact the ball had on him in Summer League.
Mike said it earlier. The ball found Kuzma. You know why? Because Zoe put it there. And if you're going to play with Bron and AD, let it come to you. If you're not on the court with them at the same time, then do your thing, Kuz. You improved your game a little bit. Just go off. That's why he is still the third league scorer on the team. So I kind of agree and kind of disagree at the same time. He doesn't drive me crazy when he is putting the ball in the hoop, but sometimes he does do some things that you want to scratch your head at, And I'm gonna stop right there because I don't even want to get about his fashion off the court stuff. Because that is a whole other thing.
Congratulations on him and that girl though. The chick that she actually has I forget the name of the skin disorder. She's a model though, and
he's dating that girl. Okay.
Yeah, that's his chick, and she's bad. She's bad. And give him credit. Look, I don't dislike Kuz. Okay, I just dislike when he does stupid shit on the court. That's the thing that gets me. And Jeff's tweet. Look, Chris Dunn. Come on, son. Are you kidding me? No. And there was. But here's the thing with Jeff. He's a Bulls fan, so he wanted him to go there because he knows he would be a good fit for them. But gotcha. I mean. Yeah, but that's Jeff's fantasy. He's like Tattoo living in Fantasy Island and Mr. Rourke. And now let's get into Final Fantasy. Now, we've been doing this with the various Lakers teams. Last week, Shaq and Kobe's Lakers team beat Kobe and Pau Gasol's Laker team in our Final Fantasy. Now we have this week's, and it's Shaq and Kobe's early Laker teams with Big Shot Bob, D Fish, Ron Harper, I believe, was on those teams, if I remember correctly.
Got Pretty Rick Fox.
Pretty Ricky. No, Harper wasn't. He was on the next set of three because those three also because D-Fish, Tyronn Lue was on that team. Those teams. Horace Grant was one of the forwards. So you got a bunch of guys on that team versus the I believe these are the 73-9 and they lied Golden State Warriors. Or is this the team with Durant that won? Which one is it, Kyle?
Which one is it?
I chose the one that won just because,
The one that won?
They won the finals. It
So
still had KD.
So 2017 then.
Yeah,
right?
17-18 season. Yeah.
Okay. So in this Final Fantasy, we're going to break down which team would win in a series. And Mike already got his hands up. So I know Mike is already ready to either flame Kyle or agree with Kyle. Because I think Kyle's going to say, I think the Warriors won. That's just my opinion. I don't know for a fact. So I'm going to start with you, Mike. What do you think? And who do you think what would happen in this series between Shaq and Kobe's Lakers against Durant, Curry, Thompson, and the biggest mouth, most overrated player in the NBA, Draymond Green?
Like I said last week, especially with the Warriors, the Warriors, they don't have a center. JaVale McGee was good for them, but he just did what he had to do. But he didn't. But the thing that he didn't have to do was guard Shaq. You tell me if you told JaVale McGee to guard Shaq that he was going to stop Shaq, like what was they going to do? Like who? Draymond Green? No, Draymond really gonna get exposed if he plays against Shaq. Shaq gonna put him on his ass. I'm just saying. So like Shaq is unstoppable. Kobe is unguardable. I don't care how good of a defender Klay Thompson is. I don't care how long Kevin Durant is. People were literally slapping Kobe in the face, and he was still busting their ass. So I don't expect that to affect how Kobe and Shaq play. And as far as that goes, that's why I think the Lakers would beat them. I think it would be a competitive series, though. But who would win? It would be the Lakers, no question.
Okay, so I'm going to read off the roster to you so we have it for full hand, okay? Kobe, D-Fish, Greg Foster, Pretty Ricky, Devin George, Ho Grant, Ron Harper, Robert Horry, Tyronn Lue, Mark Madsen, Slava Medvedenko, Shaq, Mike Penberthy, Isaiah J.R. Ryder from UNLV, and Brian Shaw. There ain't no way that Golden State team is beating that team. I'm sorry. Robert Horry against Draymond Green.
Lakers
like Robert Horry's coming off the bench because Horace Grant is starting at power forward. Now I'm going to type in. Go ahead. I'm going to throw to you, Kyle, because I want to type in this 2017 Golden State Warrior team, and I want to see their roster. We'll compare it.
So this one's actually is close to me to the point it scared me. Like I might need some convincing one of you guys to make a clear decision, and I'm one of those. I study and make my decisions, but it's so hard. We agree for sure. Shaq is gonna murder Zaza, or Zaza, JaVale, Draymond. There's no way they're gonna stop that. Kobe is gonna stop Klay from scoring that much. So after thinking about it and analyzing the lineups, I would have to say the Lakers. It's because of that edge. The only offensive piece that is going to give them problems is Stephen Curry. But I feel like Shaq against Zaza, JaVale is a lot better than Curry against Rick Fox. So I'd have to go with the Lakers, but it is really close because the Warriors' three-point shot's crazy, and not many people can guard a KD that well. So this one, it's honestly up in the air for me. Gonna need some of your expertise. I'm convincing, but I lean towards the Lakers because Shaq's that much better than Zaza, JaVale. But
Okay.
that KD, Stephen Curry, that it's scary. It is.
All right, Isaiah, do you want me to read you the Warriors roster, or do you want to go?
No, actually, I'm kind of. This one's a really tough one because I'm trying to. I would ask you, like, who do you assign to guard Kevin Durant?
Kobe, prime Kobe against KD,
So
and I would
who guards Klay?
be Rick Fox. It would be Ron Harper. It could be Devin George.
And then who's on Curry?
You'll have Derek Fisher.
Derek Fisher. Okay.
You'll have Derek Fisher, Tyronn Lue.
And then my
Brian
other question
Shaw.
is, the rules. Do we allow people to play defense, or is it like the rules now where you can't even touch someone?
I mean, it's going to be a mixture of both. It has to be. That's the only way it could work.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I needed to look at it from a matchup standpoint. But okay, you have Kobe on KD. That changes. That definitely makes more sense. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I still gotta go with the Lakers. It is very tough though, because I mean, those guys are a three-headed monster, you know. And Durant, when he really wants to, he can turn it up. So that's why I was a little worried, like who's gonna guard him. But no, man. I mean, if that's honestly my main issue was Durant. That's honestly my main issue. Other than that, the Lakers got it taken care of. I mean, we already talked about the low post stuff. Zaza, JaVale, Draymond, they got nothing on Shaq and never will. I mean, honestly, that's my main issue, really. It was just who's going to get Durant. There's no doubt about it. It's competitive, it's fun, but the Lakers win. They are the best team. They're like I said, they only have one loss in the playoffs, and that was to a 40-point AI. So let's say Clay and them, they want to score a big amount altogether, so they get one win too, maybe. You know what I mean? So I definitely got the Lakers winning this. And plus, the big thing is in my honest opinion, if Zaza does not injure Kawhi Leonard, the Spurs win that series.
Yep.
Because they're up 20. They're up 20. Kawhi gets hurt, and then the Spurs have no answer. After that, the Warriors go up 20. They go on to sweep that series. So I'm going with the Lakers, man. No doubt about it, dude. You know, Kobe is Kobe, man. Shaq is going to dunk on all three of those guys. And, you know, I'm not worried about defense when it comes to Ron Harper, who knows a thing or two about defense, you know, playing with Jordan and them too in the 90s. So, yeah, man, no doubt about it, dude. You got to go with the Lakers. That was just my worry. I was trying to envision matchups and who lines up with who. If you tell me Kobe's on KD, then I'm ready. Let's go. Lakers.
That's what I would do. But see, I'm gonna look at this Warriors roster. They got Matt Barnes, but he wasn't really Matt Barnes then. Let's say Matt Barnes.
He didn't play that. He didn't play at all on that team.
Yeah. Ian Clark, Stephen Curry, Durant, Draymond, Andre Iguodala, Damon Jones, Sean Livingston, Kevin Looney, James Michael McAdoo, Patrick McCaw from UNLV, JaVale, Zaza, Klay Thompson, Anderson Varejao, Briante Weber, and David West. So I'm looking at that, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 30 fouls against Shaq between their centers. I look at the Lakers roster, and I look at it like, okay, Rick Fox can play defense. Devin George could play defense. Ori could actually play the 3 and match up against Kevin Durant, and that would allow Horace Grant to stay at the 4. Now, would you want to do that? Not really, but you can do that. Brian Shaw could play defense too. People sleep on Brian Shaw the way he played. So that Laker team was very good defensively, but I would start Kobe on Durant or put Kobe on Durant in clutch times because I think the other guards can match up well against the Warriors. I'm not really worried. I never worry about Draymond Green. I'm just not that guy, and no one's going to stop Shaq in a series like that. I agree with you, Mike, though. I think you and Isaiah, I think both say that, you know, you think that the Warriors win a game or two. I would agree with that. I think there'll be some games because Phil Jackson's team's never swept in the finals. It's always been a game or two where they have a hiccup and then they do some things. Look, I mean, the 4-1 I think is the best that they've done, and that was the.
I think they swept New Jersey.
Did they sweep New Jersey?
I believe they did. Yeah.
Okay, that may be the only time in his career. But that New Jersey team was I don't know how they got that. That was when it was the NBA Eastern Conference. So, but yeah, I like the Lakers in this series as well. We're gonna go clean sweep with it. This Warrior team is a little bit different because of what they do. I actually think though, even though they're not in this. That Bulls team with Rodman and Jordan and Pippen match up better against this Warriors team than this Lakers team does. I think I believe that, just because if you go person for person, position for position, you can match up those Bull teams. And it's like, okay, this guy got this guy with this Lakers team. Okay, it's Durant, but Kobe got to go against Durant. Then it's, okay, Curry, but Fisher got to go against Curry. Harper, okay, Harper will have to go against this guy. So there's the matchups problems, and I think that's where the coaching comes into play for me. And Phil Jackson is a better coach than another overrated coach in Steve Kerr.
He didn't even build the team. I think we started on that. Mark Jackson, he just was like, oh, we shoot a lot of threes. Hey, Steve Kerr, you want to be our head coach? You shoot threes too. Yep. And look at that.
Yeah, Steve Kerr got the keys to a Ferrari, and they went. That's basically what happened.
They were
good. I don't think he's elite. I don't. That's one time I agree with Joe when he uses the word overrated. Probably one of the only times ever.
Playoffs. They went to the playoffs and they played like really good that season. And after that season, what's his name? Mark Jackson got fired or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, he got fired.
And then Steve Kerr, he should be coaching somewhere. Don't get me started on that.
Well, there's a reason why that, and it's nothing that'll ever become public, but there's a reason why Mark Jackson will never coach in the NBA game, or it'd be someone that's doing him a solid.
Yeah, but like I said, they're the one who built the team. He's the one who drafted those players and made the team what it was. So like they were good. They were getting there. As soon as they were about to receive their awards, he got kicked off. But don't get me started on that. That's just something else.
Well, so now next week we're gonna have to figure out another team to match up against this Laker team, because
are we gonna keep this Laker team? Like, can they lose? They're never losing every week.
I mean, if we're gonna be honest with ourselves, it ultimately has to come down to one of Jordan's Bulls teams, right?
Or Showtime.
One of Showtime Lakers team. One of the Showtime Lakers teams, because Kareem and Shaq, that's a good matchup. Magic and Kobe, that's a good matchup. Now, let's just say hypothetically they balance each other out, and now you have to go, okay, who's at the power forward, who's at this Worthy, and who matches up with Worthy, who matches up with Scott. Then you have that bench, and you have, maybe if it's Terry Teagle, or if it's Larry Drew, if it's Michael Thompson, who was the other point guards on that team? I mean, they not David Rivers. I'm gonna leave David Rivers out of it. David Rivers. Yeah, y'all don't even know who David Rivers is, huh?
I don't think so.
I'm not gonna lie, no.
He was a first round. He was a point guard out of Notre Dame. The Lakers drafted in, like, I want to say 88, 87, 88, around that time, and he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Magic Johnson.
Oh, I see how that went.
Well, no, Magic played a few more years, and then he got out the league, and then tragically Magic contracted HIV. So, which by the way, was the first time I cried in front of other people besides my family when that happened. I was at a high school basketball practice. They canceled practice for us to watch the press conference, and we were sobbing as a basketball team. That's when I was at Crescenta Valley High School. I was there for 2 years, or a year and a half. And Coach G, we were in there at his eye, and we just lost it. It was really sad.
Don't blame you.
So we'll figure out another team for next week. But guys, that's it for this week. So you each got 30 seconds. I'm gonna start with you, Kyle. Go ahead and give us your Lakers this week predictions.
About the Thunder game?
Well, just this week for the next up until we get ready to go again next week.
Like predictions, as in like who they're beat.
Give us a prediction on anything Laker related.
Okay. LeBron and AD are going. I think they will play their minutes, even though I think they shouldn't. So LeBron, AD, doesn't matter exactly which game, Thunder game, whatever. I think they're gonna lose one more game in this season, just one. Honestly, I think they will beat the Rockets, and that makes me sad. That's what I gotta say. I gotta be honest though. Gotta keep it real. I think Lakers somehow lose one game. Can't say against who, but it won't be against the Rockets. It's my prediction.
Big Mike, what you got?
Yeah, the Lakers gonna beat the Rockets' ass. I'm sorry. James Harden and Russell Westbrook together, I think they score like the average the highest score in our dynamic duos or whatever. I just wrote an article about dynamic duos, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis are the best duo in the league. I don't care who you bring up. Like, they are the best. You can bring them all to the table. And my Twitter is MDancyII, MDANCYII. If you got something to say and you think this dynamic duo is better than LeBron James and Anthony Davis, let me know, and I will tell you why that cannot be.
All right, Isaiah, what you got, brother?
So I got between now and next week, the Lakers will go 3-1. They're going to lose in an overtime tough game to the Nuggets. That's my prediction. They beat the Thunder. They beat the Rockets in what could be a competitive game. Pacers, I'm not too worried about them. But when it comes to the Nuggets, who always kind of gives the Lakers a little trouble, they will play in a really good competitive game, go to overtime, and the Nuggets will get the slight victory. That's my prediction between now and next week. Shout out to my guy, Michael Porter Jr., 37 points the other day.
Oh, that is your guy. I remember you liked him.
Too nice.
My prediction is the Lakers are going to go undefeated for the next week. They're going to beat it. They're going to go 4-0. And I think, Mike, you inadvertently gave us next week's Final Fantasy.
Uh-oh.
Name a dynamic duo better than AD and LeBron in Laker history. You can put Magic and Kareem, Shaq and Kobe. We'll figure out the Final Fantasy. I kind of know where I'm going with it, and I kind of know where I'm feeling right now. But Kyle's going to run the numbers as usual because that's what Kyle does, and he has the things right because Kyle's that guy. I think that would be the best. That may be a good Final Fantasy. A get away from teams, and we'll come back to teams again. I don't know what you guys think. We'll figure that out. We'll figure out Final Fantasy for next week.
I was saying like NBA. Just to clarify, I don't know if y'all understood. I was saying like right now. Like
I understood.
Okay,
I understood. I want to hear it though. I want it because I can make a case for LeBron and AD. Honestly, you're looking at top 5 player ever to maybe a top 5 player ever, and that's about to hit his prime, and you don't know where he's going to end up at. LeBron's on the Mount Rushmore. AD could end up there. You never know. I'm just saying.
It's early in his career still.
Yeah, so with that being said, guys, make sure you check out Kyle, Mike, and Isaiah's Laker coverage on franchisesportsmedia.com, where Isaiah is the lead Lakers writer for Franchise, and he has his recap up or his preview up for the game against the Thunder, and he'll have the recap up shortly thereafter. Mike has Mike's it may be coming out today, I'm not sure, but his best dynamic duos in the NBA, headlined by LeBron and AD, and Kyle has his coverage of the games against I'm drawing a brain for who they play against last night. The Mavericks?
The Utah
Jazz. That's right. See, I have so many shows in my head right now. The Utah Jazz. Kyle did a recap and preview of that game. Go ahead and check that out. Follow them on Twitter. Follow the Franchise on all social media at the Franchise LV. I'm Joe Arrigo for Isaiah, Mike, and Kyle. Thank you for listening to the 70213 Laker podcast on Franchise Sports Media.